You know, every time I stand before people and speak about the brain, I can't help but feel a deep urgency in my heart. Because when it comes to strokes, we're talking about something that doesn't give you a warning, doesn't politely knock on your door, and doesn't ask for permission. It strikes suddenly, often without mercy. Every 40 seconds, somewhere in the world, someone experiences a stroke. Every single 40 seconds. That means, by the time I finish this very sentence, another person's life will be forever changed. Someone's father, mother, grandparent, maybe even a friend you just spoke to yesterday. And if that doesn't shake you, I don't know what will. I've spent years studying the brain, its power, its beauty, its fragility. And what still amazes me is how much control we actually have over our own health. Yet how often we surrender that control through neglect or ignorance. See, stroke isn't just a random event that happens to unlucky people. It's not just an old person's disease. It's a consequence. A build-up of small daily habits, small moments of stress, small decisions about what we eat, how we move, how we breathe, and whether we take our health seriously or not. The tragedy is that most strokes are preventable, yet we keep losing lives every minute because we think we have more time. Let me tell you something powerful. In one 3-year study involving almost 60,000 seniors, men and women in their retirement years, those who received proactive, consistent primary care saw a 22% reduction in their risk of having a stroke. That's not a small number. That's tens of thousands of people spared from paralysis, speech loss, or even death. And it wasn't because they had access to some fancy new drug or secret medical device. It was simply because they managed their blood pressure, took their checkups seriously, and made consistent choices that kept their vascular system strong. It was their daily stewardship of health that saved their lives. When I say the word stroke, I don't just want you to think of a medical emergency. I want you to think of lost potential, of a grandfather who can't hold his granddaughter's hand anymore, of a grandmother whose laughter fades because her words no longer form the way they used to, of families suddenly thrown into chaos because a single blood clot decided to block the flow of life to the brain. That's what's at stake here, and that's why this message is not just another health talk. It's a wake-up call for every senior, every caregiver, every person who still believes that getting older automatically means getting sicker. The truth is, your brain is not your enemy. It's your ally. It's trying every day to protect you, to adapt, to repair, to heal. But it can only do so much with the raw materials you give it. When your blood pressure remains high, when cholesterol builds up silently along your vessel walls, when you don't move enough or hydrate enough, you're slowly forcing your brain to operate under stress it was never designed for. Imagine running your car engine on dirty oil for years. It might not break down today, but one day, that sudden failure will come, and it will come without warning. The same principle applies to your health. Stroke doesn't just happen. It builds silently, sometimes over decades, until one moment tips the balance. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching people that even a few small actions, a few mindful moments each day, can radically change that trajectory. You can interrupt that build-up. You can reverse those silent changes before they turn fatal. That's what modern neuroscience and vascular medicine are revealing, the power of early awareness and rapid intervention. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Doctor, I'm already in my 60s or 70s. The damage is done. But I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. Your body is far more resilient than you think. Studies have shown that seniors who adopt simple changes, like moderate exercise, blood pressure management, and heart-healthy diets, can cut their risk of stroke by nearly 1/3. Imagine that 1 out of every 3 potential strokes could be prevented. That's not just a statistic, that's a lifeline. And that's before we even talk about simple, short daily routines that can help your vessels relax, boost oxygen flow to the brain, and support your heart's rhythm in just seconds. So, when I talk about a 40-second trick later in this message, I'm not speaking about a gimmick. I'm talking about a spark, a small, scientifically grounded action that activates your body's built-in ability to heal. But before you can even appreciate that, you have to understand what you're up against. Stroke is not the enemy. It's the symptom of an enemy you've been feeding for years: neglect, unchecked stress, poor diet, low hydration, lack of sleep, sedentary habits. They all work together like silent thieves, robbing your brain's vitality bit by bit. Every day you choose awareness, you weaken that enemy. Every moment you breathe deeply, walk a few steps more, drink a little more water, monitor your blood pressure, you are extending your life. You are protecting your mind, your memories, your independence. Because when stroke hits, it doesn't just take physical ability, it steals dignity, confidence, and connection. And I don't want that for you or for anyone. So as we move forward, I want you to hold this truth close. The countdown to stroke risk resets every moment you decide to care for your health. The same way every 40 seconds, someone has a stroke. Every 40 seconds, someone else chooses prevention. Someone else takes charge of their destiny. You can be that person today, because the difference between tragedy and triumph is often decided not in hospitals, but in the quiet daily decisions we make about our own bodies. And that's why I say with conviction, this isn't just science, it's stewardship. Every heartbeat, every breath, every small act of care is a declaration: my brain matters, my life matters. Now, when I mention a 40-second trick that can lower stroke risk instantly, I can almost see the curiosity light up in people's eyes. Some lean forward, some cross their arms, and others whisper, "Come on, can something that simple really make a difference?" And that's exactly the problem with how we've been taught to think about health. We assume that only complex, expensive, or time-consuming solutions can work. But the truth is, the human body is designed with built-in systems that can be activated in moments, if only we learn how to use them. Let me explain this in the simplest way possible. Your brain, your heart, and your blood vessels are constantly communicating. Every second, they're sending signals, adjusting pressure, balancing oxygen, and maintaining the flow of life throughout your body. This communication is delicate, precise, and miraculous. When you take control of your breathing, your posture, or your movement for even a few seconds, you're not just relaxing, you're sending a message to your entire vascular system. You're telling your vessels, it's okay to open, it's safe to flow, you don't need to fight. That's the foundation of this 40-second trick. See, what I discovered, and what modern neuroscience supports, is that small, intentional actions can cause big physiological shifts. When you inhale deeply through your nose, hold for a moment, and exhale slowly, your vagus nerve, a key part of your nervous system, activates. This nerve calms your heart rate, lowers blood pressure, and dilates your vessels. It's the body's natural brake pedal, and all of that begins in under a minute. Think about that. 40 seconds of deliberate breathing can trigger a cascade of healing signals throughout your brain and heart. This isn't mystical, it's biological. Studies have shown that controlled breathing and short bouts of vascular stretching, even simple hand grip exercises, can reduce arterial stiffness, improve blood flow, and regulate the autonomic balance that governs blood pressure. Your vessels, in that moment, respond with gratitude. They soften, they flow, and the risk of those dangerous clots forming inside them begins to decline. You're essentially giving your arteries a mini tune-up right where you are, with no equipment and no cost. I've shared this with patients, and I've watched their skepticism melt into amazement. One older gentleman told me, "Doctor, I've been on 3 blood pressure medications for 10 years, and I never knew that just breathing right could help me feel this calm. Now, I'm not telling you to throw away your medication. No, that would be irresponsible. But what I am saying is that you have more control than you realize. You can complement the medical treatments you receive with a simple, science-backed routine that takes less than a minute and strengthens your vascular resilience. The secret is in how you use those 40 seconds. Think of it like this: you're not just counting seconds, you're creating space. Space for your blood to move freely, for your brain to receive more oxygen, for your body to reset its rhythm. That one short moment of intentional control can make the difference between stress, induced tension, and relaxation, induced protection. And when you make it a daily habit, your body begins to adapt. It learns the pattern. It expects that rhythm. Over time, your baseline state becomes calmer, more balanced, more resistant to sudden surges in pressure, the very surges that often trigger strokes. What's even more fascinating is that these effects are measurable. Research on isometric hand grip training, where you simply squeeze a ball or handle for short intervals, shows significant drops in blood pressure after consistent use. Some participants experienced reductions comparable to those achieved with medication. And it all starts with short, focused efforts that condition the vascular system to respond more intelligently. This is the part where most people are surprised. They think you have to spend hours in a gym or run miles on a treadmill to strengthen your heart and vessels. But in truth, consistency matters more than duration. It's about signaling the body regularly, reminding it of its natural balance. When you pair that with the power of breath, you're giving your heart and brain a protective shield that builds over time. The shock I talk about as a brain doctor isn't that this works. It's that so few people are using it. We live in a world where everyone is chasing complicated answers, while the body's own wisdom is waiting quietly, ready to respond. God has designed us with mechanisms that heal, regulate, and protect, but we often ignore them because they seem too simple to be true. Yet, science keeps circling back to what ancient wisdom already knew. Stillness, breathing, and short moments of intentional focus are among the most powerful medicines we have. When you do this for 40 seconds, you're not just lowering blood pressure temporarily. You're restoring communication between your brain and body. You're creating a pattern that the nervous system remembers. Over days, weeks, and months, your blood vessels become more responsive, your circulation improves, and your stress hormones decline. It's a cascade of benefits born from a single choice: to pause, to breathe, to reconnect with your body's rhythm. Now imagine the ripple effect of that small act. Lower blood pressure means less strain on your arteries. Better blood flow means more oxygen to your brain. More oxygen means sharper thinking, more energy, and less fatigue. And all of that translates into a lower risk of stroke, heart disease, and cognitive decline. It's not magic. It's simply aligning with the biology that was always on your side. So, when I say 40-second trick, I'm not trying to sensationalize. I'm trying to awaken you to a truth that's both scientific and spiritual. You were created with a built-in healing rhythm. You don't need to wait for a crisis to start using it. All you need is 40 seconds of intention. 40 seconds to give your brain and heart the message that you are in control, that balance is possible, and that prevention begins with awareness. Because sometimes, the difference between a life lost and a life extended isn't measured in years. It's measured in seconds. Now, before we go any further, I want to make something very clear. This 40-second trick, as powerful as it may be, was never meant to stand alone. It's not a replacement for the fundamentals of good health. It's an addition, an amplifier, a spark that strengthens what's already working. The real foundation for protecting your brain and heart lies in the everyday choices you make. if your blood pressure is sky high, if your cholesterol is out of control, if your diet is filled with salt, sugar, and stress. No short technique can undo that. You can't outsmart the body with shortcuts. You must walk with it, cooperate with it, and honor it through consistency. You see, stroke prevention doesn't begin in a hospital. It begins at home, in the kitchen, on your plate, in the way you live each day. The most powerful tools we have to lower stroke risk aren't secrets at all. They've been proven over and over again through years of science. The problem isn't that we don't know them. The problem is that we don't practice them. Let's start with the simplest and most important one: blood pressure. High blood pressure is called the silent killer for a reason. It creeps in quietly, without symptoms, damaging the blood vessels in your brain and heart long before you ever feel a thing. When those vessels weaken or rupture, that's when tragedy strikes. And yet, studies show that even small reductions in blood pressure, just 5 to 10 millimeters of mercury, can dramatically cut your risk of stroke. That means, for many people, it's not about drastic transformation overnight. It's about steady, intentional improvement. It's about taking those prescribed medications as directed, monitoring your pressure regularly, and pairing that with the simple 40-second technique to help your vessels relax naturally. Every heartbeat becomes a step toward protection. Then there's cholesterol. We often underestimate its role, but cholesterol is like the sludge that clogs the body's rivers. When it builds up in the arteries, it narrows the flow of blood to the brain. And one day, a small piece can break off and block an artery completely. That's how many strokes occur. But when we manage cholesterol through balanced diet, physical activity, and in some cases medication, we're clearing those rivers again. Research has shown that lowering LDL cholesterol can reduce stroke risk by up to 22%. And that's not a guess, that's a scientific reality proven in multiple studies. You can't see cholesterol, but your body feels its effects every single day. And then there's movement. I know for many seniors, exercise sounds like a chore. The knees ache, the back protests, the energy isn't what it used to be. But you don't need to run marathons to protect your brain. You just need to move more than you did yesterday. Even walking for 15 to 30 minutes a day, at your own pace, can improve blood circulation, reduce inflammation, and strengthen your heart. One major study showed that seniors who stayed physically active had a 35% lower chance of stroke than those who lived sedentary lives. Think about that. One simple habit can cut your risk by more than a third. That's not a miracle pill. That's discipline paying off in real numbers. Now let's talk about diet. Food isn't just fuel, it's information. Every bite tells your body how to behave. The Mediterranean diet, for instance, rich in olive oil, nuts, fruits, vegetables, and fish, has been shown to lower stroke and heart attack risk by almost 30%. That's not coincidence, that's chemistry. When you nourish your body with natural, anti-inflammatory foods, your blood vessels stay flexible and your circulation improves. When you flood your system with processed foods, sugar, and salt, your arteries stiffen, your blood thickens, and your stroke risk climbs. You are literally shaping your destiny with your fork. But let's be honest, discipline isn't easy. Sometimes we know what to do but lack the strength to do it. That's why I tell people, don't try to change everything at once. Start small. 1 less spoon of salt today. 1 glass of water before every meal. 1 short walk after dinner. 1 deep 40-second breathing pause when you feel anxious. That's how you build momentum. Each small act sends a signal to your brain that says, I'm taking control. And the body always responds to that message. It's also worth noting what not to do. For many years, doctors prescribed aspirin to prevent strokes in older adults. But new research has revealed that in people without prior cardiovascular issues, that daily aspirin might do more harm than good. it can increase the risk of internal bleeding, especially in the brain. So prevention must always be guided by wisdom, not trends. The best medicine will always be balance. Balancing blood pressure, balancing diet, balancing stress, balancing the way you rest and move. And that brings me back to why the 40-second trick is so effective when combined with these lifestyle anchors. When you practice that moment of controlled breathing or vascular activation, you are reinforcing all the good habits you're already building. It's like pressing a reset button that keeps your body aligned with your goals. When you eat right, your vessels are clean. When you breathe deeply, your vessels open. When you walk daily, your blood moves. And when all three work together, your stroke risk doesn't just decline, it collapses. The body becomes a system of harmony rather than chaos. You see, prevention isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. It's realizing that health isn't something you chase when you're sick, it's something you build when you're well. Every meal, every step, every deep breath is a statement of faith in the body's design. You can strengthen your heart and protect your brain not through miracles, but through mindful, consistent action. And when you combine those foundational truths, steady blood pressure, balanced cholesterol, daily movement, nourishing food, with the quick 40-second activation that restores your body's rhythm, you create a shield around your brain that few diseases can penetrate. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. It's not about living forever, it's about living fully alert, mobile, and strong enough to enjoy every moment you've been given. Because the real miracle isn't in the trick itself, it's in your willingness to act on what you already know. You know, one of the biggest lies people believe is that once you reach a certain age, it's too late to change anything. I hear it all the time. Doctor, I'm already old. My body's tired. My blood pressure's been high for years. What's the point now? And every time someone says that, I can almost feel the weight of hopelessness behind their words. But let me tell you something that will challenge that belief completely. It is never too late. The human body has a remarkable ability to heal, adapt, and rebuild even in our later years. Stroke risk, heart disease, brain decline. These are not life sentences. They are warnings, signals that can still be answered if you are willing to listen. The truth is your body never stops responding to your choices. Even in your 60s, 70s, and 80s, your brain is still rewiring itself. Your blood vessels are still regenerating, and your muscles are still capable of strengthening. That means you can still lower your stroke risk, no matter where you are in life. In fact, studies show that seniors who start exercising, even late in life, can improve circulation and cognitive function almost as effectively as those who've been active for years. The body may age, but its ability to respond to care never expires. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two people in their 70s. Both have high blood pressure. Both have lived fairly sedentary lives. One of them decides to give up. He tells himself it's too late, that change won't matter. The other decides to take a walk every morning, even if it's just down the street and back. He starts watching his salt intake, drinks more water, and practices the 40-second breathing technique every day. A year later, that second person's blood pressure drops, his energy returns, and his doctor tells him his stroke risk has been cut dramatically. What's the difference? Not youth, not luck, just the decision to act, even when it felt late. Science calls this neuroplasticity and vascular adaptability, the ability of your brain and blood vessels to adjust and improve. You may not realize it, but every positive choice you make sends a signal to your body: keep going, rebuild, recover. The brain forms new pathways, the vessels regain flexibility, and the heart begins to beat with renewed rhythm. You're not frozen in your condition, you're designed for recovery. Even small actions can awaken systems that have been dormant for years. I've seen people who spent decades on medication suddenly experience balance, energy, and mental clarity just by incorporating better habits. Not because they found a miracle cure, but because they rediscovered partnership with their own biology. That's what this message is really about. Reminding you that healing is not only for the young, it's for the willing. You see, one of the most powerful findings in stroke research is that lifestyle interventions remain effective across all ages. A study published in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine found that even seniors who began exercising or improving their diets later in life significantly reduced their risk of stroke and heart attack within just a few years. Another report from the National Institutes of Health confirmed that moderate improvements in diet and physical activity can lower stroke risk by up to 30%, regardless of age. That means no matter how long you've been neglecting your health, the moment you start doing something different, your body responds. The change begins the very day you decide. And let's not forget the mental side of it. Stress, worry, loneliness. These are invisible toxins that age the body faster than time itself. Chronic stress raises blood pressure, increases inflammation, and weakens your arteries. But when you replace anxiety with intentional calm, through breathing, prayer, gratitude, or simply slowing down, you reverse that damage. In just a few focused moments, your nervous system relaxes, your vessels open, and your brain receives a wave of oxygen-rich blood. You're literally teaching your body peace. That's not poetry, that's biology. Now, I know aging can make you feel like your best years are behind you. But what if I told you that your later years can be your strongest years? You've gained wisdom, patience, perspective, and now with the right focus, you can regain physical strength and mental sharpness too. Every time you eat nourishing food, take a short walk, or practice your 40-second routine, you are adding life to your years, not just years to your life. I once had an 80-year-old patient who came to me after a mild stroke. She was terrified it would happen again. We worked together, slow walks, breathing techniques, better hydration, small adjustments to her diet. 6 months later, she came back not just stronger but radiant. Her blood pressure had normalized. Her speech, which had faltered after her stroke, had returned to full strength. She looked me in the eyes and said, "I thought I was too old to heal, but my body was just waiting for me to believe again." That moment reminded me that faith and physiology often walk hand in hand. So if you're listening to this and you've been feeling discouraged, if you think your time has passed, or that your health can't improve, hear this, it's not too late. Your age is not your enemy. In fact, it's your teacher. You've learned what doesn't work. Now it's time to apply what does. The same commitment that built your career, your family, your life, it can rebuild your health too. And it starts not with a big leap, but with a small step, a deep breath, a simple choice to begin again. The 40-second trick is part of that journey, but it's only one piece. The real transformation happens when you pair that moment of focus with daily intention. When you move, eat, rest, and think with awareness, when you start listening to your body again, it will start speaking life back to you. Because no matter your age, no matter your past, your future is still being written, and your body is still willing to heal if you are willing to try. Now let's talk about something most people overlook. The power of taking what you've learned and turning it into action. Knowledge alone won't change your health. You can listen to 100 speeches, read 1,000 articles, and still stay the same if you never move from awareness to application. The key is not just knowing what to do, it's finding a way to make it part of your life until it becomes second nature. That's why I emphasize not only the science behind this 40-second trick, but the mindset that makes it work. Because if you understand it, but never do it, you've missed the miracle waiting to happen in your own body. When I first started teaching people this simple second technique. Many were amazed at how something so quick could create such calm in their bodies. They felt their heart rate drop, their breathing steady, their mind clear. But what I noticed was that the people who truly transformed were the ones who made it a ritual. They didn't treat it like a novelty. They treated it like nourishment. They practiced it in the morning before breakfast, before stressful phone calls, before bed. And soon it stopped being an exercise. They had woven it into their daily rhythm. That's where the magic happens, in consistency. Think of it like brushing your teeth. You don't do it once and expect clean teeth for life. You do it every day because you understand what happens if you don't. The same principle applies here. The 40-second trick is your brain's daily hygiene. It cleans out stress, balances your nervous system, and keeps your blood vessels responsive. The body loves rhythm, and every time you repeat this act, you strengthen that rhythm, training your system to remain calm, even when life gets chaotic. But to make this stick, you need emotional engagement. You have to understand why you're doing it. Fear might motivate you at first. Fear of stroke, fear of decline, but love will sustain you. Love for your life, love for your family, love for the simple gift of waking up each morning with a clear mind and steady body. When you connect your action to something that matters deeply, you'll keep doing it long after the excitement fades. That's why I tell people, don't do this trick for me, or because a doctor told you to. Do it because you want to live longer, live stronger, and stay present for the people who love you most. The practical part is simple. You don't need a fancy setup or special equipment. You can do it sitting, standing, lying down, wherever you are. The key is intention. Take a deep breath in through your nose, hold it gently, then exhale slowly, feeling your heart rate soften. You're telling your body it's safe, it's steady, it's strong. 40 seconds of awareness, just 40 seconds, and your brain receives the message. Your blood vessels open, your heart relaxes, and your entire system recalibrates. Imagine starting and ending your day with that kind of calm. Imagine doing it before moments of stress, before traffic, before arguments, before big decisions. That's not just prevention, that's empowerment. When you demonstrate this for others, you become a messenger of healing. I've seen people share this trick with their children, their aging parents, their church groups, their friends at work. And what starts as one person's habit becomes a movement. People begin to notice, hey, you seem calmer, you look more alive. What are you doing differently? And that's how transformation spreads. It's contagious in the best way possible. Your discipline becomes someone else's hope. Now, I want you to understand something powerful. This practice works best when paired with measurable action. Don't just breathe and hope for change. Track it. Keep an eye on your blood pressure. Notice how your sleep improves, how your energy stabilizes, how your thoughts get clearer. That's how you build faith in the process, not by blind belief, but by witnessing your own progress. And once you start seeing results, it fuels you to keep going. You start realizing that you're not powerless in the face of aging or disease. You're an active participant in your own restoration. But this requires you to treat health as a sacred responsibility. Too many people pray for healing while ignoring the habits that bring it. They ask for long life, but refuse to cooperate with the laws that sustain it. God's design isn't random, it's responsive. He's placed within your body every mechanism necessary to restore itself, if only you'll give it the chance. That's what this simple practice represents. An invitation to partner with the wisdom already written into your biology. And I've found that when people finally embrace that partnership, everything changes. They stop being victims of their age or their diagnosis and become stewards of their own vitality. They begin to see food as medicine, movement as worship, and stillness as strength. They begin to understand that healing is not a moment. It's a lifestyle. That's the mindset that turns this 40-second trick from a technique into a transformation. So when I show you this method, don't just think of it as another health tip. Think of it as a declaration that you're choosing life. Right here, right now. You're saying, I refuse to live in fear of disease. I choose to live in alignment with the body I've been given. And as you repeat it, day after day, it becomes more than a physical exercise, it becomes a spiritual one. It reminds you that peace is not found in a pill, but in presence. That power doesn't come from doing more, but from slowing down and listening to your own heartbeat. So make it practical, make it personal, make it powerful. Choose a time each day to practice it. Teach it to someone you love. Track your progress, and let that small act of awareness ripple outward into every corner of your life. Because the truth is, 40 seconds might not sound like much, but when you fill it with intention, faith, and consistency, it can change the rest of your life.